Chapter 8. A Winter's Promise. The ridge lay quiet beneath a thick blanket of snow. Willow Ridge had settled into winter's rhythm, the fields now resting, the orchards bare but ready to awaken in spring. Miriam Lapp stepped carefully over frost-laced paths, carrying a basket of firewood to the Yoder's barn. Her breath rose in clouds, and her cheeks were rosy from the cold, yet her heart was steady and light. Aaron had arrived earlier, moving swiftly along the path with a bundle of tools. When he saw her, his eyes brightened, and he waved, a small smile tugging at his lips. Good morning, Miriam. The frost hasn't slowed you, I see. Morning, Aaron, she replied, smiling in return. And neither have you. They worked side by side, stacking wood, checking fences, and ensuring the animals had warm bedding. The labor was demanding, yet comforting. It reminded them both of the steady rhythms of life in Willow Ridge, the value of care, and the importance of community. As the morning wore on, Miriam noticed that Aaron's movements had a quiet deliberateness to them. He carried a few extra blankets she hadn't expected, arranged tools in ways that made her work lighter, and offered thoughtful suggestions without ever assuming she needed help. It was a small, steady tenderness that had grown stronger over the weeks of their courtship. You've been busy, she said as they paused for a moment, brushing snow from her shawl. I didn't expect so many neighbors to need help today. Aaron shrugged, though a faint blush colored his cheeks. Winter always brings work. And I wanted to make sure, well, I wanted to make things easier for you. Miriam's heart stirred at his words. She had felt the care in his actions for months, but the quiet constancy of it now, this patient, steady attention, made her feel seen and valued in ways she had scarcely allowed herself to hope for. By midday, most of the immediate chores were completed. Neighbors returned to their homes, and the barn was secure, the fences reinforced, and the animals settled for the night. Miriam and Aaron lingered behind, tidying up the last of the tools. A gentle snow fell, softening the edges of the ridge, painting the world in silver. Aaron paused, watching her as she stacked the last of the firewood. Miriam, he said gently, may I walk with you for a moment? She nodded, a quiet excitement stirring in her chest. Together, they walked along a snow-dusted path toward the edge of the ridge. The world was hushed, the only sounds the whisper of wind through the trees and the crunch of snow beneath their boots. I've been thinking, Aaron began, his voice low and steady, about how far we've come since the summer, since the storm and the work and all the little days in between. Miriam glanced at him, a faint smile lifting her lips. I've been thinking too, she said softly. There's been much to learn, and yet, it feels as though we've grown together naturally. Aaron stopped, turning to face her. His eyes held something steady and sure, a quiet gravity that made Miriam's heart quicken. I wanted this moment to be private, he said. I wanted to do it rightly, not in haste, not because of the season, but because it is true in my heart. Her hands trembled slightly, though she kept them folded in front of her. Aaron, she whispered. He took a deep breath, gathering courage in the same way he had approached every challenge in Willow Ridge, thoughtfully, faithfully, with patience and care. He knelt on one knee, not in grand display, but in quiet reverence and humility. He reached for her hands, his touch gentle. Miriam laughed, he said, his voice steady, I have loved you for many months now, with patience and prayer, with respect and hope. I wish to honor God, our families, and you by asking if you will marry me. Will you share your life with me, walk beside me in faith and work and joy, and let us build our home together in his light? Miriam's breath caught. She felt the snow around them, the hush of the ridge, the quiet blessing of the moment. Her thoughts turned to every act of care Aaron had shown her, every moment of laughter and trust they had shared, every prayer whispered quietly before sunrise. She thought of God's guidance, of the slow, steady unfolding of her heart, and of the man kneeling before her, steady, sincere, and full of faith. Yes, she said softly, tears pricking her eyes. Yes, Aaron, I will marry you. A quiet smile spread across his face. He rose, still holding her hands, and she felt the warmth of his presence envelop her. No words were needed beyond the quiet assurance that their hearts and faith were aligned. The ridge seemed to sigh in approval, the snow falling gently around them like a soft benediction. The rest of the afternoon passed in calm and quiet joy. They returned to the barn to finish securing the remaining tools and feed, their hands brushing now and then, their laughter soft and easy. Miriam carried a small bundle of warm blankets to the stable, and Aaron followed with a stack of hay. Their cooperation, once simply practical, now carried an undercurrent of shared excitement and contentment. When they paused atop the ridge to watch the sun dip low behind the snow-laden trees, Miriam felt the depth of her gratitude and love. I never thought winter could feel like this, she said, her voice soft. So full of hope. Aaron wrapped an arm lightly around her shoulders. It is the hope of a life built together, he said. Faithful, steady, and true. And I cannot wait to see it grow with you by my side. She leaned slightly against him, savoring the quiet warmth of his presence. The ridge stretched endlessly below, silver and soft, and in that moment, Miriam felt the promise of their shared future stretch before her just as clearly. Evening came, and the snow continued to fall, muffling the ridge in serene white. Miriam returned home with Hannah, carrying a stack of firewood and a heart full of joy. They settled near the hearth, drinking tea in quiet companionship. I see it in your eyes, Hannah said, smiling knowingly. You've received a blessing. I have, Miriam replied softly, still holding Aaron's scarf in her hands. It is more than I could have hoped for. A gift of love, faith, and partnership. God has guided every step. Hannah nodded. It is good to see your heart at peace. Remember, the coming months will hold more work and growth, but you will face it together. That is the greatest blessing of all. Miriam smiled, the warmth of the fire reflecting the warmth in her heart. She knelt by the window later that night, watching snowflakes settle gently on the ridge. Her thoughts drifted to Aaron, to the home they would build, and to the life they would share in God's light. Thank you, Lord, she whispered in prayer. Thank you for guiding my heart, for showing me a path of love and faith, and for the man who will walk beside me. Help us honor you in every day to come. Outside, the ridge was quiet, soft under the snow, and Miriam felt the promise of a new season, of love, of faith, and of life shared fully and wholly in Willow Ridge.